Welcome back to Anime Recap, anime fans. Today, we're recapping I've Somehow Gotten Stronger When I Improved My Farming Skills. The show opens with a bunch of adventurers facing off against a fire-breathing dragon, which we learn is an S-ranked opponent. The adventurers fail against the dragon as it breathes fire everywhere, forcing them to run away. Away from the dragon, we're introduced to a young male farmer named Al. He's a great farmer and has a ton of vegetables to take to the market to sell. As he gets ready to head out, he is alerted that his farming skill has been maxed out, which he's really happy about. His friend comes over to congratulate him on maxing out his skills. His friend, Testa, is a local fisherman and tells Al he's jealous of his skills, especially his maxed out fishing skill. As the boys chat, Al gets an alert, and he has the option to up the rest of his skills now that he has maxed out his farming skill. His point and skill levels are massive, and Testa can't believe it. Al is shocked too, but he forgets about it when he remembers he has to go sell his harvest. He leaves Testa and heads to the capital. On his way to the capital, he comes across the flame-breathing dragon we saw earlier in the episode. Al wants to help as he watches the dragon destroy the forest, so he gets off his cart and throws a carrot at the dragon, hoping to distract it. But instead of just distracting the dragon, the carrot rips through it and kills it because Al threw it with so much force. The adventurers who were retreating from the dragon are shocked and try to find Al. But Al was shocked and a little scared by his own power, so he left before they could reach him. However, they are able to follow the trail Al's cart leaves. Finally, at the capital, Al makes his way in when he passes a pretty girl being whisked away on a horse. The girl is yelling and clearly in distress. Al grabs her off the horse and saves her. The man who was holding her tries to stab Al in anger, but Al easily takes him down. The girl thanks Al. She is shocked that Al was able to take down her kidnapper, since he has a huge amount of points and should have been a struggle for most humans. Al has to hurry off to make it to the market in time, and doesn't even turn around when the girl calls after him and asks for his name. Once in the market, Al is able to sell his whole harvest, making a good amount of money. He heads out back to his farm, but he's stopped at the gate, which worries him. But the girl he saved before appears and reveals she is a princess. Her name is Felice. Al is suddenly nervous to be speaking to royalty, but she tells him to just act the way he did before. Then she asks if he'd like to work for her royal family as a bodyguard. Al absolutely does not want to do this, and tries to say so as nicely as possible. He turns to leave, and Felice grabs him by the collar, begging him to take the job. She offers him a huge salary, but Al insists that he just wants to be a farmer. Felice tells him he'll have a huge farm in the capital if he takes the job. When Al asks why she wants to hire him so badly, she tells him that he is clearly a great warrior. She lists off the typical status point amounts. Most people have 50 points, adventurers like those who were taking on the dragon have 130, and knights have 600. Legendary people have over 1,000. Felice wants to see Al's status, but he declines, knowing she'll freak out since he is way over 1,000. Al and Felice are interrupted by the return of the adventurers who were fighting the dragon. They tell the princess that the dragon has been taken care of, but they admit that they don't know who took it down. Felice knows it had to have been Al, but when she turns to confront him, she finds that he slipped away while she was chatting. Al is relieved to be away from the capital, but Felice doesn't want to give up on him yet. She called back to the castle, and while standing next to her father, the king, they learn that there is a huge army of monsters on their way to the castle right now. The army sounds terrifying and includes dragons and orcs. When it's revealed that the monsters are coming from something called the Hell Zone, the king is shocked because nothing has come from there in a very long time. In the past, the demon king of the Hell Zone was killed by a legendary hero, and peace between humans and the monsters in the zone was achieved. Officer Cecil, who gave the king the report, tells the king that demons and monsters in the Hell Zone were never happy with peace, and now that they know the legendary hero has died, they are ready to wage war again. He tells the king to flee with his daughter, but the king refuses. The scene goes back to Al. and we see that he has made it back to his farm and home as night falls. He's tired from his long trip and just wants to relax, but Testa shows up almost immediately. Testa bangs on his door and tells him about the monster army that is approaching, and tells him they need to run. Al is worried about his plants and pushes past Testa to check on them. When he finds his vegetables untouched, he's happy again, but from behind a tree he watches the demon army walking past. He realizes that they are going to the capital, but he doesn't want to get involved until he realizes that the capital is the only place he can sell his harvest. We cut back to the king and Felice, who were eventually convinced to leave the capital and get away from the approaching army. They are following Officer Cecil, but when they come to a stop, Cecil turns around and attacks the king. Then Cecil transforms into a demon with black eyes and wings. Officer Cecil then reveals that he's a high-ranking demon general named Romeo Van Dead. He then shows the king his shape-shifting abilities and informs the king and Felice that he plans to kill them and shape-shift into the king to cause chaos in the capital. Smiling, Romeo attacks the princess and king with beams of demonic purple light. The king and Felice attempt to put up a shield with magic, but Romeo breaks it down with ease. Just as Romeo is about to kill the father and daughter, Al shows up. Al easily blocks Romeo's attack and stops it, and Romeo can't believe it. When the demon tries attacking Al again, Al catches his sword in his hands and sends Romeo flying. The demon is angry and impressed now, and shifts to his final form by sucking the power from the monsters nearby. His status points shoot way up and the princess tries to warn Al. In his terrifying demon form, Romeo attacks Al with all his power, but Al knocks him back with one punch and sends him flying again. With their demon general taken down, all the lesser monsters flee back to the Hell Zone. The next day, Al is back at the capital in the palace. The king thanks Al for saving their lives, but of course, Al is modest and insists he was just protecting his crops. The king makes Al the same offer that Felice did and begs him to come and work for them. The king offers Al anything he wants and says he can have any title and salary. The princess is charmed by Al's dedication to being a farmer. As a gift, she gives him the huge plot of farmland she offered earlier in the episode, but doesn't force Al to work for the family. She does make him register as an adventurer, though. Al is thrilled about his new farmland, but when he arrives there, he is filled with anger as he realizes it's a barren dump. The next day, Al walks around the capital with the princess. They get some food and continue talking as they walk. But Al is confused at how easily the princess can walk through her own capital. He expects her to attract a ton of attention. Here, Felice reveals that she has so much free time because she has someone pretending to be her back at the palace. She also has an accessory that magically prevents other citizens from recognizing her. Felice and Al end up at the Adventurers HQ. Al is brought over to register, and he meets the purple-haired receptionist, Helen. Before they are able to talk, Al's stomach growls and everyone laughs. Helen gets Al some tasty-looking food and they begin registration for Al to become an adventurer. As Al and Helen are talking, the adventurers from the other day appear. They thank him for defeating their dragon. Since the dragon was S-ranked, everyone in the HQ turns to Al and Helen, shocked that he was able to take down an S-tier dragon. Al gets shy at this attention and insists it was no big deal. Al tells Helen that he is ready for an adventure, but she goes over the rules with him. Adventurers and guests are ranked from F, the lowest, to SS, the highest. Even though he defeated an S-ranked dragon, Al is still a brand new adventurer and needs to start from the bottom. Helen gives Al his first assignment, which is a low-ranked quest to collect some herbs. She also gives him her old magically enhanced cloak. Once he's in her cloak, Helen begins to blush because Al looks so strong and powerful wearing it. As Al heads out, Al can't help but think of all the farming he's missing out on. When he gets to the forest for the quest, he collects the herbs as instructed. While distracted, a female orc jumps on Al out of nowhere. She is attracted to Al and tries kissing him. Jake, one of the adventurers, appears and slashes the orc, killing her and saving Al. Al shows Jake a black scale he found while collecting herbs. Suddenly, the forest begins to shake and an enormous, pulsing black dragon appears. The dragon is cloaked in shadow and doesn't even notice Al and the adventurers as it walks past. Rising a peak over his shoulder, Al can't believe the insanely high status level of the dragon. The adventurers are relieved it didn't notice them. The scene cuts to a little girl running, and then Helen waking up from a nightmare. That day, while working at the Adventurers Guild, she is talking to her mother. She reveals to her mother that she has been having terrible nightmares and is even starting to experience memory loss. She is losing bits of time and can't even remember what she did after her shift yesterday. Despite her sad news, Helen's mother doesn't seem too worried. She tells Helen that she should take some time off from her job. As Helen and her mother talk, Al walks in with the other adventurers. They tell Helen that they have an urgent report and tell her and the guild's master about the massive dragon they saw yesterday. Once they give their report, the guild master confirms that this dragon's name is Ouroboros and is legendary for how strong he is. Helen seems especially interested in the dragon and their tale. Al eventually pulls the dragon's scale out of his pocket, which triggers Helen's memory of her brother being killed by the dragon. She passes out from shock and emotion, causing everyone to jump up. Al is waiting for news about Helen when her mother comes in. Her mother then reveals that she is actually Helen's adopted mother because when Helen was just a little girl, she found her abandoned by a river, wearing the cloak she gifted to Al. Apparently, she had no memories except her name. Given Helen's mysterious past and nightmares, Helen's adopted mother tells Al that Helen might have some sort of connection to the Black Dragon. Intrigued, Al tries doing some research for hints about Helen or the dragon's past. After spending time in the library, he's frustrated because he hasn't learned a thing. Al has a light bulb moment and realizes that he should look at reports from the time Helen was found abandoned. Al begs the librarian to let him look at the restricted reports, but she refuses. However, Felice shows up and gets Al access since she's the princess. After checking some reports, Al and Felice find out that the village Helen was found near all those years ago was completely destroyed, and in the wreckage there were tons of black scales like the one Al had picked up. Al also finds out that Ouroboros was supposedly killed by an enemy dragon, a dragon named Mirage the Benevolent. So if he were really alive, it would be bad for everyone. The next day, Al and Felice go to the village Helen was found in. They find nothing but ruins. But then Al hears a ghostly voice that leads them to a grave. A ghost of a boy with green eyes comes out of one of the gravestones, and he is wearing the same cloak Al is wearing. The ghost's name is Ray, and only Al can see and hear him. If you want to see what happens to Al and the adventurers next, let us know in the comments.